If you happen to be watching on the YouTube channel, first of all, hi. No, that is not a seltzer. That is an energy drink, and I need that this week. Holy cow. Welcome in. It's Leprechaun Lunch. Pre- and post-game coverage presented by Cheers Bar and Grill. Pre- and post-game coverage of Notre Dame football, that is. Your post-game headquarters for blue and gold football. The lunch is also brought to you by State Farm agent Tim Grell. For all of your insurance and financial needs, give Tim's agency a call at 574-232-9981. Yeah, this has been a this has been a demon hell ride of a week. That's I mean, if you want to hear about it, I'll dish. If you want to hear about it, if you don't, tough cookies, because I'm gonna talk about it. Who here has been part of any sort of like you go to work one day and you're working for one company, and then all of a sudden you get an email at like 6 a.m. on a Monday morning, and you find out that the company that you've been working for a number of years has been sold. That's what happened to my wife on Monday. She's my wife works over at Press Ganey, and if you've been paying attention to anything in the news, you may have seen this. Yeah, that company is getting bought for like $6.5 billion. That's not an exaggeration. And yeah, like everybody over there right now is kind of like, okay, what the hell's going to happen next? So that's kind of where my head's been at. I'm also playing with my headphone cord right now. So, but yeah, I got to looking back on that too, and unlike a lot of my brethren in this radio industry, I've never been a part of that. Like I've been, I've been to other stations where where people had worked for one company and then another company took over at one point. Hell, there's still a couple of them floating around here. But yeah, I've never been part of that. And I was just kind of like, does that make me a unicorn? Because if so, I'm going to need a whole bunch of new hats for this giant ass horn that's hanging off my head now. So anyway, hope you're well. Hope everything's going well for you anyway. And also, if you happen to work over at Press Ganey, A, say hi to my wife, and B, all right. Okay. All right. You smell that? Been a while. It's been a while since that smell's been around. And no, I'm not talking about the dog food factory over in Mishawaka. No matter what way the wind's blowing, some days it doesn't matter. You're gonna smell that thing regardless. But it's been a little bit since it's been around. It's almost undeniable, though. We'll say that. That it's one of those smells that you can smell, and as soon as you smell it, you know what it is. For me, it smells a lot like trap. That's right, trap game. This is a trap game. NC State has all the markings of a trap game. When the hell did that happen? Anyway, it can anyway. It can have all the markings of a trap game. Nothing's set in stone, obviously. You never know. But they always look back, oh, this was a trap game, But think about it. Think about this one. The biggest marking that this thing has for being a trap game is that it's the Peacock game this year. If that doesn't scream trap game, if that doesn't scream, yeah, they might be looking ahead after this one. That's it. That's look no further than your what $9.99 a month plan with Peacock. Granted, they've won all four. They've won all four of the Peacock exclusive games to this point. Tomorrow's number 5. 2 of them, though, not exactly walks in the park. Some people like to shut this one out completely. But Toledo, the 2021 home opener, that was a 3-point final. That was a 3-point game. 32-29 was the final score of that game. Louisville last year, that wasn't exactly a walk in the park either. That was 31-24. Both of those coming down to the last minute, too. Against Louisville last year, Xavier Watts had to break up a 4th and 6th pass. Against Toledo, the first one out of the gate. That's how these Peacock games have mostly gone. Half gone, anyway. Notre Dame had to score a touchdown in the final minute to win that game. And here's some names for the memory bank. Jack Cohen to Michael Mayer for 18 yards. Kyron Williams with the 2-point conversion. That was with 1:08 left. The other two weren't close. All right. The other two weren't close. They beat UNLV in 2022, 44-21. Beat Central Michigan in 2023, 41-17. But yeah, it's those two. And the other thing that makes this a trap game is that next week's the USC game. And what makes that kind of special is that it's quite possibly the last USC game for at least a while. Unless Lincoln Riley decides to grow a pair, which I'm not banking on. So with it being the last USC game for a while next week, and with it being a night game too, those always seem to be, just amped up to the nth degree. This is going to be a fevered pitch for that game. All right? Everybody's going to be juiced for that. Hell, people are probably juiced for that game now before we even get to NC State tomorrow. By the way, following Toledo in 2021 was Purdue. That's a rivalry game. The Louisville game was the last week before the bye week, but that was followed by Stanford, another rivalry game. There's too many things starting to line up here, aren't there? Too many things. I'm not gonna lie, I like doing the research for this little bit. I was like, I see a pattern. And then it went all beautiful mind, and like equations were floating around everywhere and numbers and all that. If you don't get that reference, maybe the blackjack scene in The Hangover. Same kind of thing. Do I think NC State has a chance? In my heart of heart, in my deep down, no. No more than anybody else has it, But I don't think they have any sort of advantage. But with their offense, anything's possible with that offense, really. CJ Bailey, hell of a quarterback. Notre Dame has a bunch of really good quarterbacks on their schedule, by the way. Good quarterbacks on meh to crap teams somehow. Where do these guys go wrong? But CJ Bailey has thrown for over 1,600 yards, almost 1,700 yards. That's fourth in the country. Fourth most passing yards in the country. 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. That's not a terrible ratio either. Bailey and his wide receiver, Terrell Anderson, they've combined for 3 of those. So obviously there's something there. Anderson has 388 receiving yards overall in the season. That's 18.5 yards per catch, by the way. That can eat up some field. Hollywood Smothers has the second most rushing yards in the country. They're running back. 693 yards on the season. This offense can score some points. Might want to hit the over, by the way, this week. Even though last week, burnt us hard, it was a 63.5 point total last week. Nowhere close on that one. Notre Dame didn't even get that team total points for me either. Ugh. Last week was a bad week for me. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. And maybe your misery, or my misery anyway, will be your amusement. Maybe. NC State has played in 4 games that have gone over, by the way, this season. They're 3-1 in those games. So if I don't think in my heart of hearts that they have a chance, that they have a real chance anyway, then why am I spazzing out? Well, it's because of that offense, man. The problem with NC State, though, is that whenever anyone puts any sort of, regular pressure on them defensively, they crumble. I'm not talking like sending, 7 guys after the quarterback. I'm talking like, sending 3 and dropping 4 back. A standard play like that. They fall apart. They need to score points to win, which is why we should hit that over. They put up 24 against East Carolina, which, okay, 24 points, whatever. They only won by 7 against East Carolina. They put up 35 against Virginia. Okay. Starting to put up some more, and against a conference rival, to conference foe anyway. They only won by 4 in that game. They put up 34 against Wake Forest. They won by 10. They put up 33 against Duke and lost by 12. Lost by 12. That little pattern kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's like we were talking about that a month ago. They only put up 21 against Virginia Tech, and they wound up losing by 2. They've only really dominated 1 game, and that was last week against Campbell. Because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they dominate against an FCS team? Have we had a I can't think of it. And if I can't think of any, then it must not have happened. But FCS school pulling the upset there didn't really come anywhere close last week. 56-10 NC State win last week. So even when it looks at first glance the pressure isn't on the defense, though, the pressure, of course, is totally on the defense. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not the only one who says this, who's been saying this. I gotta see more before I'm a real believer here. Only giving up 13 points to Arkansas. Okay, whatever. Then 7 points to Boise State. Going in the right direction. I'll give them that. They have definitely looked better than they did against Miami, than they did against Texas A&M. Still gave up 30 to Purdue, though. Ugh. And I'm sure that they know that the heat's on them, too. I'm sure that Chris Ash knows that the heat is on, even though Marcus Freeman continues to throw nothing but support his way. Which I got to admit is admirable. Still doesn't throw anybody under the bus. Even when it's right there sitting in front of him, the guy doesn't throw anybody under the bus. It's all team. It's all of us, that phrase. I've kind of noticed something, though, about this team, and that this team needs someone on defense on that side of the ball to step up and just be that guy. All right? That guy. J.D. Bertrand did it 3 years ago. Jack Kaiser, Xavier Watts, they did it last year. All right? All three of those guys got their teammates amped. When they got them amped, got them playing well. I still don't think anybody's done that this year. Did you happen to see the video last week? Maybe if you were at the stadium there, or saw it on TV or anything. If you happen to see any video before the Irish ran out of the tunnel last week, Marcus Freeman was really in their face, wasn't he? He was really, really giving it to them. And it didn't. I know that he did that against Texas A&M last year down at College Station. I know he did that then. That game, that A&M game last year, that is Marcus Freeman yelling at his team, basically to, like I think he was excited too, I think that game, he probably went into it going, man, this is the kind of game I wish I could play in. Just pure excitement, pure energy, no anger to it whatsoever. It's like, come on, boys, let's go and kick some ass. Last week, I did not get that vibe whatsoever. Last week, I got, you need to play well or I will make your lives a living hell this week. That is a very different vibe. Maybe that's the way it has to be this year. Maybe this, like, you don't want it to be like that, but maybe it's just this year that Marcus Freeman's going to have to get up in some faces. He's going to have to promise a hell week if you don't play well. Again, it's not preferred. It's not end all be all either. Leonard Moore could still be that guy. Who knows? Getting 2 interceptions after being out the previous 2 weeks, that's a hell of a way to step up. Hell of a way to step up on the field. Now go do it in the locker room. Now go get in your teammates' faces in the locker room. Bubakar Traore still the most consistent out of the front 7, I think. Still leading the team in sacks. Picked up another half sack last week. Maybe Bubakar turns into that guy. I guess we'll see. Guess we'll see just before they run out of the tunnel tomorrow, If it's still living hell, CMF, I'm still a little concerned. I'm still a little uneasy about that defense. I'm not feeling great. Not feeling great watching that game tomorrow. And you look at the offense too, like you compare the two sides of the ball. And it's almost like the offense just has this embarrassment of riches right now. Very good quarterback play, the best running back room in the country. and receivers who are leading in the locker room and on the field too. Like Will Pauling's a team captain, a transfer a transfer is a team captain. Like that's how much that dude is leading. That's how much of an impression he made on his team. His new team named him a captain. That is something. And Malachi Fields has been bringing his A game. Another kind of experienced leader there. It's almost an embarrassment of riches. Almost. Compared to the defense anyway, as far as that attitude thing goes, Now, offense does have, a couple of little things. Jaden Greathouse out again. On the injury report is out with that right thigh injury. Missed last week too. Even before then, hadn't really gotten into the flow of things. Kicking game could still be an adventure too. Noah Burnett's questionable. He's missed 2 of the last 3 with his right hip injury. If Eric Schmidt or Marcello Diomede can't hit a field goal or keep the ball in bounds on kickoffs, I still don't feel overly concerned about it because I think that the offense can just go get 2-point conversions whenever they want. When they're planned. Sorry if ripping that Band-Aid off hurt a little bit. Sorry. But I think I have that much faith in the offense and that they can just go and make every possession 8 points instead when they score, Not even thinking about it. After everything that I've seen so far. Game on, But that defense still something about that defense, man. And again, this could just be how I feel all year. What a wonderful feeling. Anyway. Speaking of wonderful feelings, I am crashing and burning hard on picks. So if you're hanging with me on these picks here, bless your heart. But stop. It's bad, man. It's like there's so much promise. Heading into the heading into the A&M game. Still, I hit like 3/4 of my picks, which is pretty good. We are evening out. We'll go through them. And I'm still not totally convinced on some of them, but after some research and whatnot, this has been a weird football season. Not gonna lie. We'll go through those coming up here. Leprechaun Lunch on Sports Radio WSBT. seemed like an appropriate way to come back in. A song called Killing Me Slowly. Tomorrow, once again, game day live at the Linebacker starting at 11 a.m. Let's see. We've got Ian Book. We've got Chris Zorich. Come on by. Linebacker starting at 11 a.m. with game day on Sports Radio WSBT and Sunny 101.5 as well. So that should be a good time. Chris is always a good hang. So if you haven't met him, there you go. Last week, 5-10. Last week, 5-10. Well, 37-40 overall. Remember when I said week one, I hit, 3/4 of them? Okay. So let's start with tomorrow. Let's start with tomorrow's game. NC State, number 16, Notre Dame, 3:30 kick. And I'm once again going to ride the over team total points for Notre Dame here. Definitely did not hit last week. But I'm going back to it again this weekend. All right. They had 4 takeaways last week. They should have scored more than 42 points against Boise State. Let's go, let's just say that right now. That number again this week is 41.5 as well. NC State quarterback CJ Bailey, he's very good. It's very good, very talented. Struggled a little bit with INT. He can get into a rhythm of just, hey, you're in a different uniform. Here you go. Defense has been forcing more turnovers as well. Thank you, Leonard Moore. Thank you. Should be able to turn more of those into touchdowns as well. So, by the way, NC State's defense. Yeah. So, Notre Dame over 41.5 team total. All right. That's not the game. That's just Notre Dame by themselves over 41.5 points. Okay. If I say it enough times, it'll come to fruition. Hopefully. God. Tonight, we've got number 24 South Florida at North Texas at 7:30 tonight. That is the perfect college football game to go up against a deciding game 5 in baseball. That's perfect. Anyway, North Texas had an extra week to prepare for this one because I'm sure when they saw South Florida on the schedule, they went, ooh, coming back from bye. All right. USF has just as much talent on both sides of the ball. The Mean Green have greatly improved since last season, especially defensively. Level of competition hasn't maybe been as strong as USF. Defense has limited their opponents' passing attack, though, to less than 150 yards per game. Drew Mestamaker has thrown 11 touchdowns, hasn't thrown an interception yet. And USF's offense can go a little stagnant time. It can get a little in need of reviving. North Texas, I like them straight. Just pick them straight up. Just for the hell. This is one of those picks that if I lose it, no big deal. All right. I'm not gonna get bent out of shape on that one. I'll get bent out of shape about Texas losing to Florida and Penn State with that fraud as a head coach, I'll get bent out of shape about them dropping a game to UCLA. I'll get, a game like this, though, South Florida at North Texas, no, not at all. Have fun with that one. Don't put it in a parlay. Do not. Another big game that people around here may be paying attention to. Number 7, Indiana is at number 3, Oregon. 3:30 kick as well. Until I'm proven otherwise, I'm not exactly the biggest believer of Indiana on the road. All right. I know they went into Iowa and won. Still though, like Iowa's just a good defense. Like Iowa could have done that, could have put on that kind of a game in Bloomington. Had 2 tough road games last year. They were blown out both times. Ohio State blew their doors off. They got a garbage time touchdown against Notre Dame. Otherwise, they got their doors blown off then too. And I know, 2 national championship game participants, all that, whatever. But now they go on the road against a rested Oregon team who's 22-1 at home under Dan Lanning. That's not good either. Dante Moore, I think, kind of uses this game, especially since it's against the number 7 team in the country. I think he kind of announces himself as the Heisman front runner in this game with, like 3 more touchdown passes. Book it. Cha-ching. Oregon in the points here. That's a 7.5 point spread. I think Oregon tops that. Also tomorrow night, number 15 Michigan is at USC. That's a 7:30 kick. And the trend here, just keep betting those USC home overs. Those overs. You see USC in a home game, take the over. Even against solid Michigan defense, really. Our number this week is 56.5. The average combined point total in USC's last 8 home games, dating back to last year, is 70. They had totals of 86, 79, and 76 last year. Wolverines showed enough holes on defense against Nebraska a few weeks ago. I think USC, kind of has them there, at least putting up 30 or more points. Like I could see USC winning this game. It's at home. Yeah. Fun game on tap, I think. Fun game on tap at the Coliseum. 56.5 though. Hit the over for Michigan and USC. At noon, number 1 Ohio State is at number 17 Illinois. Point total there is 50.5. Hit the over there. Because I think Ohio State is hitting that by themselves. Like 50.5 for the game. If you want to do an Ohio State team total, go right ahead. You'll hit it. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but you'll hit it. Number 8, Alabama is at number 14, Missouri. There's a few good games. Tomorrow. That's a noon kickoff, too. Missouri averaging 45 a game. 5-0 on the season. They've covered 3 times. Face Alabama this week. And after losing to Florida State, they've won and covered their last 4. I mean, Alabama, I think Alabama's okay. I think they're fine. Missouri hasn't really played anybody other than, a mediocre Kansas team in South Carolina this season. They couldn't even cover against UMass, for God's sake. Meantime, Alabama's already won at Georgia. They beat Vanderbilt soundly. They crushed Wisconsin. They also lead the nation in turnover margin at +9. They've only turned the ball over once. Alabama hangs on to that football like they're trying to ward off grim death. No fumbles the entire year so far either. They're looking to Alabama's on a mission. I think like the way that team's being coached now. I think Kalen DeBoer's a little bit on a mission too. Hey, I can win stuff just like Saban did. I mean, until it happens, put up or shut up. But he's at least got that. He's got that inspiration right there. I think it reestablishes its past glory against Missouri as well tomorrow. I think Alabama, a 3-point favorite, they're going to cover that. Also at noon tomorrow, Pittsburgh is at number 25, Florida State. They're 10.5-point underdogs, and I like them to cover, and here's why. Pitt went for 503 yards of total offense last week. They forced 3 turnovers. Granted, Boston College, but they needed a game like that after collapsing against Louisville, where they were up 3 scores and lost. Panthers should at least be able to carry that momentum against a Florida State squad that could still be reeling a little bit from its loss to Miami. Those old wounds, they stick around at Florida State. Washington State is at number 4, Ole Miss. I didn't notice that game on the schedule earlier this year, like at all, until like this week. Did that just get added? Poor Washington. Like, what did Washington State do to deserve that? The point total here is 58.5. Go over. Just go over. Go over. Poor Washington State, man. Eesh. Red River rivalry is this weekend. Number 6, Oklahoma at Texas, 3:30 kick. Right now, Oklahoma probably playing as good a defense as they ever have. And there have been some pretty damn good Oklahoma defenses. And that gives them a great chance tomorrow just by itself. I think Mateer's questionable. I think whoever starts at quarterback for Oklahoma has the benefit of that defense being behind them. All right. Like if whoever if it's Mateer or not, if the quarterback makes mistakes for Oklahoma, that defense will say, "We got you guys. We got you, boys." Because Arch Manning is struggling. Woof, man. Woof. First pick in the draft isn't supposed to be playing like that. Come now. Expect a lower scoring game. That favors Oklahoma. They're a 1.5 underdog. Explain that. Especially after the giant turd that Texas laid last week. But I think Oklahoma wins and covers that 1.5. Virginia Tech is at number 13. Georgia Tech take the over there. My throwaway picks are basically just overs. 54.5 is the point total on that game. That's at 3:30 tomorrow. Number 22, Iowa State is at Colorado. Kind of a tough spot for Iowa State. Had to play at Cincinnati last week. Now they have to travel to Colorado. Change in altitude, not going to really help. Cincinnati beat them too. But what will help is that they're playing a Colorado team that's pretty banged up. And also, I just trust Rocco Becht in this game more than I can trust Kaidon Salter. Iowa State in the points. Arkansas is at number 12, Tennessee at 4:15 tomorrow. That is their first game I'm trying to let's see how do I want to phrase. First game since Bobby Petrino led the coup, I guess. New interim coach / former coach Bobby Petrino takes over that Arkansas team. A superstar quarterback. An ability to score on anyone. All right. No defense. No defense whatsoever. Since taking over, he's made some changes on that side. Had the bye week to implement them. And that presents a little bit of an unknown for the Volunteers. That little element, along with the fact that the Razorbacks can score. Arkansas is going to stay in this one. They're 11.5-point underdog. I don't think they win. You know, Tennessee's better than them, obviously. They make it interesting, though. Florida, following up a home win against Texas, travels to Texas A&M, where they're 7.5-point underdog and will get throttled soundly, I think. Although I thought the same thing with, but you know, A&M doesn't have the problems that Texas has, though. All right, its quarterback can play. Remember, Texas A&M covers. Kansas is at number 9 Texas Tech. That's a 7:30 kick tomorrow. I think Kansas kind of hangs with them there too. It's one of those Kansas teams where on the right night they can make things interesting. Tomorrow night might be that kind of night. Number 10 Georgia is at Auburn at 7:30 tomorrow. Gunnar Stockton is just a gamer. Plain and simple. He's fun to watch. Play the game, and compete. What makes the game intriguing, though, is that it's one of the oldest rivalries in college football. So, Auburn's going to be playing. They're bringing their A game. We think, maybe. That offense has yet to find any sort of level of consistency week to week. Like, it is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the Auburn offense. I trust Georgia on both sides of the ball on this one. I think they covered 3.5 points. South Carolina, a 9.5-point underdog at number 11 LSU at 7:45 tomorrow night. More of a defensive slugfest in this game, as opposed to the offensive explosion we saw last year. This year's game, the difference is basically on the South Carolina side. Lenora Sellers is playing much better than Garrett Nussmeier is right now. And I know, Nussmeier is not exactly 100%. Neither offense really playing the best right now. Defensive battle, we're looking at it, okay? Which is why I think South Carolina keeps us within 9.5. Number 18 BYU is at Arizona. This is going to be a mess of a ball game. This is going to be one of those, like if they were playing on natural grass, this would be they'd be playing in a bog. To be honest, though, I liked the under on this game even before I saw the weekend forecast. Really, an influx of moisture. Let's just call it that. Remnants of Hurricane Priscilla hitting Tucson this weekend. So it's not going to be fun for anybody at the game. It's not going to be fun for anybody playing in the game. Even if it's just cloudy, though, I still think defenses rule at Arizona Stadium. All 4 of the Wildcats' home games have gone under, as have both BYU road games so far. I'm confident in that. 46.5, I still think they come in well below that, so that should be an interesting game tomorrow night. Arizona State, number 21, is at Utah. How the hell did Utah fall out of the top 25? What? Arizona State's Sam Levitt has been reduced to doubtful, which puts the Sun Devils behind the 8 ball in a big fat way. They were already kind of peeking out from behind it. They were like, a 1.5 underdog. Since Levitt got put to doubtful. 8.5-point underdog. Man, things change in the world of college football. Utah ranks 9th in the FBS for rush offense. If those projected rains soak the field, the Utes' edge in that category going to be, all magnified like 1,000 times. Utah also enjoyed a bye week following a 34-point wipeout of West Virginia 2 weeks ago. So there is that. They're rested. They're rolling. Utah covers that 8.5 points. I mean, I feel okay. Like anybody who's gone 6-10 and 5-10 in consecutive weeks, the best you could feel is okay. But I feel okay about those picks. I feel okay. I feel as okay as one can feel in making picks. Have I mentioned that these aren't guarantees? Who do we have a lot of football for you this weekend? As I have mentioned, 11 a.m. tomorrow. Game day out at the linebacker. Chris Sorch going to be there with us with Tim and Tyler and Eric. Ian Book joining the show as well. Good times all around. I'm not going to lie. It's really the best place to go for a tailgate. I'm just going to say that right now, man. Just going to say that. And then Sunday, all the pro football that you could possibly handle. We got the Colts hosting Arizona. That is a 1:00 kick. Indy a 7.5-point favorite in that game, and I think they're going to cover that. Like, the Colts are just playing so much better than the Cardinals are right now. Just take the points, man. Coverage gets underway at noon with the Colts Radio Network here on Sports Radio WSBT. And the other two kind of regional games around here anyway. Detroit is at Kansas City for Sunday Night Football, which starts at that coverage starts at 7:30 on Sunday. Hit DraftKings on this one. All right, they have a prop for Xavier Worthy. Over 4.5 total receptions for Xavier Worthy over on DraftKings. A little bit of an eye-opener there, quite honestly. He's got at least 5 catches in 10 straight full games dating back to last season. He's facing a Lions secondary that is down their top 3 cornerbacks. Both safeties are banged up. Chiefs probably going to have to air it out anyway. Their run game is struggling. Although I highly recommend Lamar or Kareem Hunt. I almost said Lamar Hunt. That would be wildly wrong. Kareem Hunt. Touchdown vulture, if you will. All right? But still, it's all Mahomes, okay? The Lions ranked 4th in run defense. So there is that. Expecting Worthy to see some screens, short looks. Those are going to complement the deep shots. Like, if he doesn't get 8 to 10 targets, then he's either not playing or, like held out of the game, like injury, like just doesn't dress at all. Or Andy Reid just hates him. And he ate him. What? Anyway, that's a Sunday night game, 7:30 on Sports Radio WSBT. And then Monday night, the Bears heading back to the scene of the crime last year. This was the first of the 10 straight losses last year at Washington. All right. And Chicago, like, the Bears have played really well their last couple of outings, which is good. Young team can use that. That bye week last week came at just the wrong time completely because they were humming. However, coming off the bye against this particular team, who they should have beaten last year, that's about as best of a that's about as good as an omen as you can get, quite honestly. All right, great thing. Back and forth, I think. The Bears are a 4.5-point underdog because of that game last year. And Tyreek Stevenson playing a lot better. Let's just leave it at that. So, yeah, I like Chicago pulling that upset as a 4.5-point underdog, covering that. So I think Chicago wins outright. And I want Chicago to win outright anyway in that game because that helps the Giants, who somehow beat the Eagles last night and of course they did, because I didn't watch it because I thought they were going to get just demolished. And who wants to watch that? Such is my life, Anyway, see you tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. for game day.
Idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.